Robin, thank you for coming to our studio. I would like to start with a little bit of statement. Big data is a great opportunity, but it kills privacy.
I'm not sure it necessarily kills privacy, but certainly it can put privacy at risk. And it's not so much the data itself, it's what's done with it, and also to a certain extent the way in which people give rise to big data. Where does it come from? Because I think in some respects passive collection of data or passive disclosure of data actually exposes a lot more data about us than we maybe intended to give out.
Does that mean that we have to regulate it? I mean, the fact that we have to regulate it also threatens innovation? Does it have to be like that?
Well, let's not forget that actually the collection of data and the use of data is already covered by regulations, at least in the European Union and Asia Pacific, and to a certain extent in the States as well, although the regulatory regimes are different. So there are regulations that govern what people ought to be doing with big data, but in some cases they need to go a bit further. So for example, the inferences that you draw from big data are typically not really covered by regulation, and that may be something that people should look at.
Some of bad examples are cookies.
Well, cookies are interesting. The European regulation on cookies was brought in for a good reason. You can see what they were trying to do, but I think maybe it regulated too much at the technology level and it focused on a particular mechanism. And they got into all kinds of tangles because they said this kind of cookies are good and these kind of cookies are bad, and we should allow the good ones but not allow the bad ones, and it just got needlessly technical. So I think they need to look more at outcomes, about what the privacy impact is on the user, rather than trying to legislate for specific mechanisms.
Let's talk about the danger of socially transmitted data. We publish a lot of information on our social networking sites. So does that mean that we actually give out all the information also for unauthorized use?
Well, I think there are three things going on there. One is that there's information that we give out, and in some cases we think we're publishing it to a particular audience, and actually we're publishing it to a much bigger audience that we didn't know about.
There's this case with this big party on Facebook, right?
Yes, yes. I bet her parents were really happy.
I'm sure.
So that's one. The second one is there's data that we don't consciously give out, but which is nonetheless collected and used, and your social graph is a very good example of that. So no one intentionally creates a social graph. It's something they have as a result of being on Facebook.
Yeah.
And then the other one is really to do with what our expectations are. What did you think was going to happen with that data? And what's it actually being used for that then comes back and has a privacy impact on you from some other route?
How about anonymity on the internet? Does it exist anymore?
It's increasingly difficult, apparently. And there are lots of countries, for example, where the preference politically would be that access to the internet should only be identifiable, shouldn't be anonymous. But I think there are very good cases where anonymity, or at least pseudonymity, are really necessary. If you think of, for example, activists or whistleblowers who are doing something that is ethical and desirable, but may feel threatened in their ability to do it because they fear that if they're identified they will have reprisals. So I think there are cases where it is important for people to be able to get online and say things without it necessarily being traceable back to them, yes.
Robin, thank you for our conversation.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.